Great. I will call this Committee of the Whole January 27th meeting to order. Just like to acknowledge that the Northern Rockies Administrative Center is located in the heart of the traditional territory of the Dene, Cree, and Dene Saw people of Fort Nelson and Prophet River First Nations. We further recognize the rights provided by our treaty and also celebrate the contributions and enduring presence of the Métis people in our region. Please be advised that tonight's meeting is available for the public to attend virtually, is being streamed and recorded. Are there any additions from council? CAO?
No.
Any public comment period? Okay, just accept the agenda by consensus. Excellent. Taking us to reports, bylaws, and policies, 5.1. Committee of the Whole, medical transportation funding opportunities for discussion. So I'm assuming Miss Penny will be coming up to the table. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Following Council's direction in September 2024 to explore grant options for a pilot project with Villars Air Services for same-day medical travel, staff have engaged with various agencies to identify potential partners and funding opportunities. Several programs were reviewed, such as Hope Air. They provide free travel for patients in need, but face cutbacks, unfortunately, as of this month. Villars Air could register as a vendor for potential collaboration. The TAP, Travel Assistance Program, offers discounts through partnerships with carriers, but they do not provide direct reimbursement to patients traveling. Angel Flights BC provides volunteer-based free air transportation, but is not currently available in the NRM. Northern Health suggested piloting a specific service such as weekly or monthly CT scan trips to Dawson Creek, which they would provide busing from the airport to and from the hospital. There's the Northern Health Connections, which subsidize rural transportation for medical travel, but focuses on a broader regional need versus specific to our area. Canadian Cancer Society assists with finding patient travel services, often in partnership with Hope Air. And then there's NDIT, the Northern Development Initiative Trust. They offer Northern Passenger Transportation Service Partner Program, which NRM is currently pursuing in a transportation study. There are more. These were the main focus. Despite extensive research, though, there's no direct grant funding options at the moment that have been identified for the pilot project. So looking for direction from Regional Council on next steps.
Thanks, Ms. Penny. Any comments from council? Mayor?
Yeah, it's unfortunate because the idea is such a great idea. And it's unfortunate that Northern Health, although they seem to think a pilot idea, at least for a specific CT scanner trip, is viable, they're only prepared to fund, sounds like, the bus from from the airport into the hospital and back. So it leaves us with trying to figure out how to pay for the airfare or the cost of Villars, and that's probably something. I think we've probably got some numbers. I just can't recall if we've got the numbers of what that might cost for us to implement that ourselves, and whether or not we go directly to the minister and say, listen, we don't have a CT scanner here. You don't want to fund that. And we've got a lot of people, to the tune of whatever it is, a couple of hundred people that need to get out every year for CT scans. Maybe you can help us with this. It's just a lobby effort, I guess. Is what's left. That's my thoughts.
Okay, I have a few points for council to consider. I would like to see a letter to the minister outlining the proposal as a starting point directly to her. I would like us to consider continuing to negotiate with Northern Health to maybe look at a pilot being developed around an area that has travel dollars, i.e. cancer. If you're going for cancer diagnoses or treatment, then you can access funding through the Canadian Cancer Society. And really, that's how the whole pilot project began, because we continue to have residents who are going out for the various cancer treatments. And the goal of the project was to get them down and back before they suffer ill effects of their treatment. So they can be in the same day, and their support system is here. So they're not having to leave their support system behind, or that support system having to take all that time off work to support treatment. So that's kind of where Dan started with the idea. And so I was disappointed that Northern Health chose to offer the pilot on the CT scans that is needed in the community as opposed to cancer treatment. So I would like, if council agrees, I think that might be a place that we can continue to negotiate. And then when I read through the transportation study that's following here, on page 38 and 39 of that transportation study, I identified a couple of funding sources in there that I could make a case for in terms of public transportation options. And one of them in particular was that Transit Minor Betterment Program. They actually said that one of the goals of that program is for transportation equity. Well, I think that we could make that argument that the Villars project is for transportation equity. We have to go for treatment. If you don't have a vehicle, or I'm going to speak to the converted already, but we all know the barriers to receiving treatment. And so I think a couple of those funding options would be worth exploring. So that was my thought. I know that staff is looking for direction from regional council on next steps. So I know we're not making any decisions here, but the points that I've just put forth, what does council feel about that? First one being a letter to the minister. I heard the mayor also bring up that suggestion. And then Councillor Roper, thank you.
I was just going to agree. We need to keep advocating as much as we can.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think a letter to the minister is good. I agree. I think we could probably put both ideas forward to her with respect to the need in the community, whether it's for cancer treatment or for CT scans, and maybe an opportunity to meet with her. We can ask for that.
And then would council at some point be willing to support continued staff time in sourcing out funding options?
Well, I think we've kind of exhausted that, haven't we? Except for that one or two that you mentioned out of the transportation study. But I think staff has done a lot of work. I mean, if anybody hears of anything, I think we'd explore it. But I think we've exhausted all the opportunities for funding in this report. My thought.
Okay, I think I see it a little bit differently, and I think that there are more funding opportunities in terms of, I know we don't have lots of industries currently happening in our community, but that could be, forward thinking, while continuing to investigate some of these federal opportunities that are listed in that transportation report. But I won't flog a dead horse if I'm not hearing any other comments. Oh, Councillor Dickey, thank you.
I think my only comment is with cancer treatment and it being a service that, like if it's like chemo, it's like a injection service, really. If they can't provide air, why can't they provide somebody coming into the community and administering cancer treatment here.
We
Because
have
really you're
gone
getting,
down that road, and I can give you the 100 reasons that Northern Health has given us. And it's, they need a certain exhaust fan to be able to prepare the chemotherapy drugs and we don't have that here, and they're not willing to invest in that in our lab. They need a certain pharmacist capability to prepare those drugs. And if they prepared them off-site, they don't last long enough to get them up to Fort Nelson. So yeah, that's the reasons that they have given us 3 of the 100 that I remember. But a very good point. Yeah. Okay. That helped, Diana? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. Moving on to report 25. Navigate NRM, passenger transportation study and options. Good evening, welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and Council. So in front of you here is just a report for information, or sorry, for discussion on some of the various options forward. So there's a report with it, and then on top of that, there is also kind of a quick guide for the solutions. So with this, there's quite a few solutions that were listed, and so my thought to this was kind of go through the presentation one by one, and then I'll be able to provide you some of the information that staff has in addition to some of the things that are in here, and get feedback on where you'd like us to go. Just keeping in mind that obviously any solution that we do look to understand better is most likely will come with a budget ask and or support with grant applications. So if that's how you'd like to proceed, okay.
That sounds good.
Okay, so the first two here, the community shuttle and the seniors bus operating hours, those ones I will say we are working on those already. Those have been brought before council. A budget has been approved and we're just awaiting funding or waiting a funding decision. So those are underway right now. So first two, nice and easy. So BC Transit operation of local shuttle service. So BC Transit, in there, we've been in contact with BC Transit just through a series of events. They've given us the information that in order to move forward with BC Transit is it'll take a lot longer than you'll expect. So upwards of 5 years to implement something. It requires a feasibility study, which is about $50,000 that BC Transit splits 50-50 with the municipality. They have noted that this study, in addition with some of the other work we've done just in regards to the shuttle program, could reduce that cost significantly, but I have not been given a number in that, so I don't know what that would look like. But they do fund, I think it's 46.8 something percent. It's a really weird number, but basically the municipality would pay for 53% of the services that BC Transit would implement, and then the province would then cover the rest. So with that, that's some of the considerations around this one would just be timing. It could benefit in look at like the shuttle service that we have with the seniors bus. If we start looking at those options now, could look at potentially finding a longer term solution with BC Transit if we choose to go down this road. Comments, questions?
Yeah, Council, if you have any questions or comments, just let me know. We'll just ask as we go along, hey Mitch.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah,
perfect.
okay.
Okay. So subsidizing a local taxi service. So I've had a chat with Raj once again, just through various means there, but he kind of shared with me that he struggled with the business a little bit. Now I can't speak to his personal concerns other than I have encouraged him, or as staff, we have encouraged him to write into council and provide his story and give what, like, essentially ask for what he needs in order to revitalize that business. Reached out a couple times and just kind of dead air, I guess. But the last time I did talk to him, he did indicate that he was willing to revitalize the service. I just don't know what that would take from the municipality or what he would need.
So I have a question around that. And I might have this understanding wrong, but it's my understanding that there's only a certain amount of licenses, taxi licenses, that will be granted in a community. So if somebody is a holder of a license, but isn't offering that service, can we make that license get given up so that somebody else can then take over that license if they have a business case to make that happen? Surrender the license is the word I was looking for.
I don't have the full information on that, if we can or can't do that, but I can look into it.
Thank you. I would like, yeah.
It just in regards to how many licenses are issued, I believe it's by population amount,
Mhm.
and then that's how many licenses are issued. But other than that, I don't have knowledge. further
Thought
than
we
that.
looked into it previously when Councillor Roper brought up an idea about ride hailing. But I don't know if I'm remembering that correctly, but I would be really interested in determining that.
Right.
Thanks.
Safe rides for Friday night out. Don't have a whole heck of a lot extra to share on this one. No work has been done on it yet. Are there any comments on it? Employee shuttle would be the same boat. I jumped right to the ride sharing and carpooling. So, the carpooling, I did take a look at the websites that were in the study, and they look pretty simple to navigate. Now I say simple as like I've taken a very high level look at them, and they would take minimal or no cost or effort really to join those. The big piece about those is people can't use them unless they know about them. So the big effort would be around marketing and sharing that with the community, which may take some staff time. That I wouldn't have an answer for how long that would take or how much that would take.
I have a question on this one too.
Sure.
So liability, so, because you see all the time on Facebook, like needing a ride to here, there, or the next place. And so if you took somebody, then I think you're covered just by your insurance. But if you're charging somebody, like if you're accepting payment for help with the fuel, is there a different liability? And if the NRM is promoting that type of a system, what type of a liability would we have in terms of, safety for the driver, safety for the passenger? And then if there were like an accident or something, who holds that liability?
So I do believe some of those questions are addressed in the study, and I just don't have them off the top of my head. I do know one of the websites doesn't charge anything. It's kind of like a post on Facebook method where it's like, I'm going from, say, Edmonton to Alaska, and if that trip travels through your area, it'll be posted to the site, and people can sign up to either join in or whatever the case may be, right? So they can either post that they're driving or that they can post that they're looking for a ride, and then they kind of connect in that regard. I believe there's a little bit of pre-screening involved in that one that is not done by the municipality, right? That would be all third party. The other one, I think, charges, like, there's a minimal charge. It's like $15 or $20 per rider that would go with somebody, and it would be the same concept as they post a ride. Somebody replies that says, yes, I'm willing to pay for that. In regards to liability, the NRM has, if we're promoting it, I I can't really speak to that. But it's all through third parties, so I'd imagine that would be between the driver and passenger to figure out beforehand.
Yeah, I mean, I read the report, but the question around charging, it's like, you know, I'll charge you, like, you can pay for half the gas. So now your accept's different. If I'm just going to Fort St. John and I'm gonna give you a ride, I'm not gonna ask for any gas payment or anything like that. That's different. You're just being a
Yeah.
good citizen. But if I'm saying, yeah, I'm gonna take you, but you're gonna pay for half my gas, then that's a different model, right? So that was just the question that I had that I didn't see an answer in the report.
Yeah, I think the big difference between that would be, and I mean, this is just would be from my standpoint, is like one's like, if you think of like an Uber, that's a business that somebody runs. Whereas this would be a genuine carpooling or ride sharing, right? They're not looking to run a business. They're, hey, I have some extra space in my car. Do you want to come with me, right? And so the charges I think are set, like they're set $15 or $20 or something like that. Like they're really minimal.
To join, that's just to join the,
To join the
Yeah,
to join
yeah,
the ride,
yeah.
yeah, and then
it's not
Yeah.
for individual, yeah.
yeah. Sorry, that would be to join each ride. So if somebody posted, I'm going to Fort St. John, it would list it as like $15 or something, and then people can join on for $15, I think is how that works.
And who gets the $15?
The driver.
The cash cow.
It still doesn't answer the liability question. And
No,
I think
Yeah.
Okay,
anytime we promote something like that and get involved with it, or even get it off the ground or advertise it or whatever, you can bet with the big pockets that we have, if there's an accident, they're dragging us straight into it. That's why I didn't
Yeah.
consider this one to be viable, you know, unless our municipal insurance would cover it, which I doubt that it will.
So with this one, I think we can chat with corporate services and maybe legal and see probably a next step on that one. But I'll take it down as a note and follow up. The ride sharing piece. So I just noted that Coastal Rides, we have been in contact with them prior. So we had numerous discussions with them. We brought them in on the shuttle program as well. You know, at that point, they didn't see where they could provide any interest, but they had shared on social media that they were looking for drivers. I believe they had one person respond who was qualified to join the service. And so what was shared from Coastal Rides was that as a municipality, we would need to look at maybe supporting the community in obtaining the different pieces that are necessary to be a driver for Coastal Rides. So so what he said was essentially, you can support training for a Class 3 license, which is required. Support with either subsidies so that people aren't sitting there for 8 hours and make $10 type of deal, or provide a vehicle so that people can go around and complete the rides. And so that's kind of where that was left off, and there hasn't been anything since. But those were the barriers or hurdles that Coastal Rides had to coming to the community, and his suggestions on how to move forward with a solution. Northwest Shuttle, nothing formalized. Hitchhiking, bike share. And so those are the only ones that really I could provide more context to. So I guess that kind of begs the question of where would you like us to go from here?
thank you. Councilor Rupert?
Did Coastal Rides provide a number of minimum drivers they would need to viably run that service with our population base?
Yeah, so he had one driver who was week on, week off. He'd said two full-time drivers would be ideal. But three, like having a part-time to kind of cover shifts here and there would be the best, but he needs at least two to make it viable.
And can that training, that Class 3 license certification, can that be done in town at any time, or does it have to be arranged? Do you have to go out of town? What's the deal with that?
So we'd have to look into what providers would be able to offer that service. I'm not sure if the gentleman here who does the training can, but
think
Class
he
3, I
can.
believe, is it's like commercial service. So it's a little bit more specialized, but that's something we can definitely look into. And I imagine if we had a big enough class, it would be a viable option to have somebody come here and train, but
Yeah, I would see that as being something that we could achieve pretty easily if we had a pool of candidates that we could provide that training to. What's the cost and the time commitments to get a class 3 license? Do you know?
So I know from the bus training, it's significant amount of training. So for that, it was quite a lot of time, but I don't think it's the same requirements, like if it's just the class 3. So I can't give you an exact answer on that, but I can take that back as well.
And I think that last barrier for the vehicles, I think you have to have a vehicle that's less than 10 years old, and that can be a barrier as well. So maybe some information on how, the municipality might be able to help with that.
I know that it was previously identified that the exams for the class 3, like they weren't coming up often enough to fulfill the need, but I don't know if that's still accurate. And then as you were talking, a thought just occurred to me. With all of our school bus drivers in town, they must have a class 3, I'm assuming, but maybe I'm wrong. You would think that they might be interested in something, maybe it's a partnership with Diversified, because if they can offer like a part-time position into a full-time position, I don't know, might be something to investigate.
So just to clarify that one, are you looking for kind of numbers or just understand if Diversified provided like a coastal ride service or was the champion of that?
Yeah, I mean, it's,
Perhaps they have employees that are looking to diversify their employment.
yeah,
If it's
Work
not,
more.
if it's not a full-time gig driving a school bus, maybe they would be interested in fulfilling their time
yeah.
doing that.
So Ryan did mention too, and I don't know if this is important or not, but he said the ideal candidate for coastal rides is someone who's retired, someone who does week on, week off, or is just looking to make extra income, really, right? So kind of an extra gig, right, where they're not relying on it full time
Mhm.
as income.
Are you finished, Councilor Rupert? Good.
Yeah, that answers all the questions. Thank you very much.
I would like to see us look into the local taxi service and further identifying the barriers. And also, if he's not interested in providing that service, then we figure out about that license, and maybe somebody else could be. Again, maybe Diversified, or I don't know if that company would be interested in expanding their services within the community.
Okay, so just clarifying, because I was writing and doing at the same time as a man. So just looking into understanding better what the challenges are about running the business, understanding what he needs specifically, and if he's maybe not interested, pursue the option of, can we get that license to somebody else?
Yeah, I think we should find out what the steps are involved, not trying to threaten or anything, but if you're holding on to a license and it's not being used, and we maybe investigate somebody else that's willing to use it. Mayor, did you have anything?
Yeah, I think those are two options for the future is definitely trying to train some people and then I agree with you that that if taxi service is unable to operate, then we should look at opening that opportunity to somebody else if that's a viable solution by whoever does the licensing process. I would like to go back because I know you skipped over it fairly quickly because you said that you're in discussions, with respect to extending the hours of service with the seniors society and looking at the shuttle, and you're just waiting for a funding decision. So what application did we make that is going to, I thought we made an application to get this money to do this study or to get involved with the study with locals, and that we haven't actually applied for any operational or capital funds yet. So I'd just like you to clarify that.
Yeah, so this was the report dating back to it's 5424. I don't have a date here, but essentially what it was the shuttle program. I think it was back in October where we had 3 weeks to kind of put together a schedule and figure out basically an application for the senior society to put forward for their buses to continue operating. And from that, so there was that, it was 150,000 for operating budget and 50,000 for capital for a total of 200,000 application to NDIT. And then council committed 55,000 maximum per year for that program on the assumption that funding is approved.
Right. Okay.
Is
So
that
thanks for
ringing
putting-
any bells?
Yeah, thanks for reminding me. And I recall that. I recall that now. So so we're committed, I guess, to that if it moves forward. Is there, I know there's been a change in management over at the senior society, so I wonder, has that impacted this at all?
I met with McKenna and Evelyn there just before the transition, so I do still have connections there at the senior society. And I'm just I'm working trying to get in front of them again because I know that there was somebody was hired for that position. I just don't know who. So, and to answer your question, yes and no. We still have connections there that we know that will be top of mind, and at the same time just trying to get in front of them. Maybe a bit of miscommunication or not being able to communicate effectively right now. So.
All right. And do we still have the door open with respect to the Fort Nelson First Nation and the Prophet River First Nation? Have you got any meetings set up with their administrators or their councils to try to move this forward into their communities as well?
Yeah, so I have sent a few emails and over to both Prophet and FNFN with no response. Just in regards to sitting down as a group again and trying to figure out breaking down, well, for FNFN specifically, just breaking down how we're going to approach, senior society will have to approach their chief and council because it's their operation, obviously with support from us. But once again, I haven't received a response from them.
All right. Well, I think we should continue to try to coordinate that because I think without those communities, this doesn't work. There needs to be, there needs to be the ability to get out into all the communities and source funds. Whether it's fees for ridership or whether it's supporting the capital and the operation costs. This thing's not sustainable on $150,000 or $200,000. With an initial infusion from NDIT. It's got to be a long-term thing, and we've got to try to drive that, and we're putting this forward. So I think it's it behooves us to work with all of those groups to try to pull them together and bring this to some kind of a business plan for it to be sustainable over the long term. And then also if we're able to, because that gives us some scheduled service, some intercommunity scheduled service, as well as inside the community service. And then if these other things work out, like the taxi service and the ride hailing, that'll just supplement and add to this. So I think we really need to formalize, as much as we can with those other communities.
Great. Thank you. You have all you need, Mitch, for now? No?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask Mayor, so does that kind of lead into, just if I'm hearing correctly, does that lead into maybe looking a little bit further into the BC transit options and long-term success around public transportation?
No.
Okay.
I don't want BC Transit anywhere near the community but that's my thoughts. I mean, if this shuttle service starts to pick up, and if you read the report, it says, I forget which part of the report it referred to 3 years being a basic. You got to have 3 years of operations for people to really understand what the service is like and to start using it and feel like it's going to be there for them all the time to change their behaviors. So, you know, if it starts going after 3 years and it looks like we do have a good ridership, then to me it might be worthwhile to try to approach BC Transit. But you know, 5 years of bureaucracy and $50,000 for them to tell us what we already know, really doesn't, you know, not that interested in working with them if those are the expectations.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. Nope. Just want to summarize. So
Yep.
taxi, seniors, bus, ride sharing, carpooling is what you guys would like to hear more about. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Oh, just Councilor
Just
Robert.
one more comment. My concern is that, let's say, right now, there's a business case for ride sharing and there's a business case for the taxi service. If both of those go forward, does that detract one from the other? I'd like to know if there's a business case for both, or if we need to be putting our eggs into one of those baskets and not
And
the other.
plus the seniors bus.
And the senior
servicing.
bus, right? I mean, they all kind of impact each other, and the data we have now might be changed if any one of those things moves forward or if something else drops out. It's
I would like to see them all working together, like
Absolutely.
maybe the seniors bus doing
Yep.
whatever part of it, and then the ride hail could be the evenings and the weekends, like something, I don't know, and the taxi service,
Yeah,
like
and-
all working together. If one
Yes.
can't, then the other one comes in. I think that there's also not an option. When we had a taxi service years ago, I knew several people that would send their kids down to Dawson Creek to the orthodontist on the taxi. They would go down in the morning and come back, like years and years ago, right? Like that. And he did that every month, and he would take a couple of families down. So we lost all of that when we lost the taxi service too, but.
So I certainly
Okay.
agree with those sentiments. You know, the best of all worlds is that all of the services are able to work together. But at this moment in time, we really don't have any of them. So I think, you know, really getting as much information we can about all of those and try to see how they might fit together. I mean, I can see that, you know, the seniors bus potentially not wanting to work extra hours in the evening, and that's where your ride sharing and taxis certainly might come in, especially late into the evening. And it kind of, you know, there's some people out there who don't want to ride with other people, and so you know, an individual ride for the person that's prepared to pay for it can also work instead of waiting for a scheduled service. Some people, you know, they want to ride now and they don't want to wait, so they can work together. I think the more information that we have, the more people we bring into this, the more opportunity there is for collaborating.
And I think another point too, we need to be aware of is when we're subsidizing one service, that we're ensuring that we're not reducing the business model of another business, right? So I think when we look at subsidizing, we need to do that in the fulsome view. Like if we're subsidizing one, does that going to negatively impact the other service? So.
Yeah. And then there's also the concern about municipalities subsidizing a private business. So that's also something that we have to take into consideration.
Yeah. Okay,
Cool.
Good.
Thank you.
good to go. Good. Okay, thanks so much. Okay, that takes us to report number 6, fire and life safety bylaw update. Chief and Mr. Cavalier, welcome.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, members of council. Thank you for allowing us to do this quick update on the fire and life safety bylaw. Since 2020, Fire Rescue and Corporate Services have been working on updating our current Town of Fort Nelson bylaw 618/2002, just to bring it up to meet the requirements that the municipality has done over the years. While working and trying to update that bylaw, we've been trying to incorporate and add the firearms and fireworks bylaw along with the fire protection services establishment bylaw. As we were doing all those updates and researching the requirements for that, as you may remember back in 2022 and 2023, we had to report to the province what fire service we were going to do for the town, and we agreed that we'd be a full service department to provide a fire service to the within the fire protection area. So that would need to be added into this new updated bylaw. Along with that, in August of 2024, the province enacted a new Fire Safety Act, which replaces the Fire Services Act that we used to fall under. So when they had the Fire Services Act, members of the fire department, like our fire investigators and our fire inspectors, were local assistants to the fire commissioner's office. So we had the authority to go and do life safety inspections in public buildings in our municipality. We only did buildings alongside the highway, like we went to Toad River, did Toad River, the schools, the same thing with Prophet River. And that met the needs of the province at the time. Now with the new Fire Safety Act, one thing that has happened, as you can see, is now we are no longer local assistants to the fire commissioner's office, and council has appointed who the inspectors are and fire investigators are. So with that new Safety Act, something we've been all in meetings with the province in regards to what the responsibilities are for a regional municipality and a regional district, because now with the new Safety Act that they enacted, it's given a wide range of requirements that municipalities and regional districts have to meet and are required to do under the new Safety Act. So we've been talking with the province in regards to allowing us, due to our land size, and that we're like 10% of the province, to allow us to do what a regional district would be required to do in regards to inspections and have assistance from the fire commissioner's office if we ever needed it. Whereas a municipality, we are on our own and we would have to send a inspector within anywhere in our regional municipality. So we would never be able to meet that requirement. I mean, we would have one person or two people on the road all hours of the day and night trying to get to all these different locations to do inspections. So that's something we've encountered while we're updating this new bylaw, is the new Safety Act. So that's kind of slowed us down on updating the current bylaw to meet to have it updated. And we're still working with the province on, are they going to allow us to operate as a regional district versus a municipality? So that's a few of the things we've been encountering with. Along with the updating of the bylaw, we're looking at including fees so we can get revenue back on to assist with the providing the fire service that we provide to the municipality. And there will be a fining section in the new bylaw where if we go to different places for inspections, the first one could be free, or we would charge after that. Or fire alarms, if we're continuing going to the same building for the same issue, we can charge and get revenue on that stuff. So we're still working, lots of work to do on the fire services to update the fire safety bylaw. And just want to give you that little update that with this Fire Safety Act, it has changed some things that we're going to have to do. We're also looking at probably updating the fire protection services bylaw where it comes to our fire protection area. And we're working with BC Wildfire on what works best for them and us as a group to deciding what the actual size of the fire protection area will be whenever it comes to fighting fires on Crown land and stuff like that. So with that, if there's any questions or issues or concerns.
Great, thank you, Chief. Any questions, Council? Mayor, go ahead.
Thank you. Thanks. Thanks for that presentation. I'm with respect to the decision about whether they'll treat us as a municipality or a regional district. I mean, we are an entity all unto ourselves as a regional municipality. So I spoke with the CAO about this, and I'm just wondering, are we presenting to them that it's all or nothing, one or the other? Or are we presenting a hybrid model where we comply with their expectations within the fire boundaries, and the rest of the region is we want to be treated as a regional district? Because I can see if they think the whole region, including inside the fire boundaries, is we want to be treated like a regional district, I can see their concern. But if we've separated it in our discussions with them, then I think that's the reasonable approach. So I'm just wondering which approach, because Scott and I never really talked about, we never went into it that deep. You know, are we splitting it, or are we just expecting to be a regional district in our entirety?
So yeah, it'd be more or less like a hybrid split.
Okay.
Like we can continue to do the service we provided for inspections forever. It's the new expectation of having to go to fly-in camps, to go to all the hunting camps and outfitters. Like we'll have to hire helicopters to fly us to some of these locations. And like, that's just an outrageous expectation that I don't think anybody in the province could meet those needs or those requirements.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, there's
Does anybody do that now?
no.
Fire Commissioner.
Right.
It was supposed to be it'd be the Office of the Fire Commissioner,
But
but
they don't.
not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, we've identified over 300 additional sites that the fire department would have to go and inspect. Okay, at least that we know of.
Like we have no problem still doing Toad River, Prophet River, stuff alongside the highway that we have to do. It's not an issue. It's when you have to go up 317, go out Clark Lake Road, go out the Sierra High Grade, and then you have to fly into camps. Like, I don't know how anybody could meet that requirement.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious that this. Sorry, it's pretty obvious that this is another download by the province. Is essentially what it
Yeah.
is.
But download for a service that they're not currently providing. So
Yeah.
download would have, now it's another new definition. And Mr. Berry.
Yeah, just to give a bit of background for council, so, and to kind of add to the mayor's question regarding the hybrid approaches. We're not suggesting our conversations back to the OFC and the province isn't around doing all or nothing. It's the legislation is geared towards municipalities, so typical municipalities, towns, cities, and whatnot. And then there's requirements for those fire departments to have a monitoring and annual inspection system for which we currently already do within our municipality, within our fire services area, and some areas up the highways, as the chief mentioned, are, for example, Toad River School and Toad River Lodge and whatnot like that. And then there's the other stream regarding regional districts, which the intent of that is again, the OFC basically provides assistance, and the regional district can elect to continue what they're doing, add, or like in our case, it would be complaint driven or not required, I guess, at the end of the day to have an inspection and monitoring system for all those areas up in our area. And Peace River Regional District is another example that all your camps, sites that have any storage, tank farms, whatnot, just a huge number of facilities and sites that we'd have to inspect. The province, the working group, I mean, it's just another example of downloading, but the working group is another example that people just don't understand what we are as a regional municipality and what we bring, and that we have a unique governance model. And that governance model kind of takes best of both worlds and creates an efficient governance model, a single governing body to represent all of the regional municipality. So they see municipality in their name, they say you must provide the municipal service for your whole area. And we've responded back to saying we're not going to do that. It's unreasonable, it's unrealistic, and we just don't have the capacity to do so. And we're in the process of formalizing that communication from James, so from the chief to the OFC, and my conversation with the mayor was also formalizing some communication from mayor and council to the two ministers. So the Minister of Municipal Affairs, who is there to assist and help local governments navigate through issues. They're there to represent the local government piece, and also the Public Safety Minister, which is where the OFC falls under. So we're in the process of doing that right now. But the intent is not an all or nothing. It's essentially to say that, you know, the areas that are outside our operating area, typically from a fire response perspective, we would deem ourselves a regional district. And we have examples when funding formulas are sometimes presented by the province that because we don't fit, they include us in the regional district, right?
Yeah.
Component for funding formula, for example. So, that's what we're currently working on, but as the chief mentioned, we don't have, it puts a bit of a wrench into the process with the bylaw, because we gotta have that figured out, because we need to understand what kind of services we need to provide and the cost to provide them, and we're going to emphatically communicate that we do not intend to provide the service that the province is suggesting we can, because it's just not realistic. We can't afford it, and we don't, I mean, we added a position in the fire hall with the fire prevention officer to help deal with this capacity that we were already lacking. That would be lost and then some if we had to follow this. So we're hoping we can get some attention and get it changed. But at this point, we've also communicated we don't intend to follow the requirements based on the outside of our normal fire area. So
Great, thank you.
we'll see what comes back.
Okay, perfect. Thanks. Okay. Any further comments or questions, council? Great. Thank you very much. Seeing none.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So we don't have any new business. Anything from the public news media question and answer period? Seeing none, I declare this meeting adjourned.